the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All righty. Well, they don't get all the moaning. Pass these to Julie. Those are the minutes from February 20. That was our last, well, not our last meeting, but previous to last week.
Let's see, it's dirty.
I didn't get to the minutes from last meeting. I'll have them at the next Wednesday's meeting.
Shame on you.
I know it. I'm getting lazy in my old age.
That would be fine. Seeing you're getting paid so highly.
I got paid for last year. What are you talking about? They're starting to give me bad looks. As long as the food keeps coming. All right. So, in the packets that were on the table is the agenda for tonight's meeting. The four of us that were here last week, Will, Bob, Bev, and myself, you should have the minutes for February 21st. I only had the three, I didn't print out the other copies. If you don't have them, well, I have two, or we'll read along or whatever. We didn't vote on them. Paul wasn't here,
I
and
left them home.
we had some things to look at. So we committee voted to postpone it till tonight in hopes that we'd get more people. I'll just have to do the changes, or I'll send them to Paul. So in tonight's packet, the other day when I was in building for a meeting, there was a letter from the Narragansett Regional School District and Monty Tech, and they're in there stapled. It's basically their budget signed by their treasurers. Julie, I also have a monster if you, well, I'm giving it to you because I'm unloading it.
Uh-huh.
It's Monty Tech's. It's a big spreadsheet if you.
Alrighty.
I also got an email. I contacted the Narragansett School District, and the budget book sort of thing that they've had for the last 2 years. I got an electronic copy of that and emailed it to everybody.
Yeah. I printed that out.
So if you want
Good girl.
to put it in a binder or something.
Yep.
I did find interesting that they did have a sheet that told us our target share was 35% over.
I figured that out.
I've had that. Well, actually, when we get down the road here a little bit, I'll
Okay.
kick on that. And then there's pages in there for the big budget book
Oh.
with all the change for the override and the things that they, yeah. And there's also the final voted on town meeting warrant. It's in there. And it's all 3 hole punch, so you can put it in your book. Now, does anybody want to take a little time to do that now, or do you want to do it on your own?
To do
To put the new stuff in?
the minutes?
Yeah, we'll do the minutes.
Okay, I'll make a motion to accept the meeting minutes of February 21st, 2018.
I will second that.
Do you have these?
Yeah, at home.
Yeah.
So I'm not grabbing them with me.
I brought a couple extras for slackers.
I got them at home. I read them at home. I know what they said.
I'm sorry, I shouldn't be.
Glad I brought mine.
It's a good thing I'm a senior citizen, otherwise I
You were
fellow
just
senior
calling us
citizens,
slackers
we
if
can
we
pick
didn't
on
bring
each
it.
other.
Yeah, that's right. But
I-
I'll give it back. No,
I still get whacked, but oh well.
Usually there's a few people
Mr.
between.
Yeah, I know,
Mr. Chairman,
yes.
when we get the meeting minutes, can we get them electronically? I'm copying all the stuff electronically rather than carry paper copies.
You should have had these emailed.
I do have them? Okay.
You should. If not, I will double check, but well,
Okay.
I've sworn that I
I'll
emailed
check.
I forget, I've emailed stuff and forgot I did it, and then I said I did it and had, so I will.
I have like a folder, I put them in.
You don't have to readily shake your head so far.
I'm
I'll start delegating to the vice chairman.
You really wanna see a mess?
No, I will. No, I'm slowly getting organized. A little late in the game, but I'm trying. Too much to do. So, motion for minutes was by Will. Was there a second?
Mhm.
I did, yeah.
Julie?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I
It's
was
okay.
getting beat on it.
Yeah, I know.
You ain't bleeding, don't cry.
Hey, Bev.
I'll stick my bear on you.
Oh, yeah,
I'll
okay.
Get my pussy after you.
Bear's a ladies' man, so he'll be sucking up to you, okay?
Yeah, you ought to. I've been good to him.
He's already met you, actually, so. He remembers people, too,
I like your haircut. It's-
Thank you.
so. Let's see.
It's in Hawaii.
Yeah.
Spend a week just getting rid of emails.
Is everybody, anything on the minutes? Yes, no, maybe?
I think it's fine.
All right, on the minutes for February 21st, 2018, motion and a second. If there's no corrections, changes, comments, Julie,
Yes.
Bev,
Abstain.
Will,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
and yes. Just a couple things on the minutes. There was a thing in here, and this is just, I was gonna see what the committee thinks about this. About Bob's point, about the marijuana laws and the tax things and stuff like that. Just as an update on that. April 1st was the deadline for planning boards and towns to put stuff on their town meeting warrant to say if you want it or don't want it.
Nothing
Templeton didn't, so, and the town administrator, Carter, he talked about this at a selectmen's meeting where one of the selectmen brought up the town bylaw about $300 fine being
Mhm.
against the law to smoke pot on, even though it's non-criminal. But in that discussion, it came up that Templeton is, because we did not have anything on the books or anything prepared before April 1st, we're wide open. Somebody can come into town and,
Well.
other than like denying a business license, they go through the process and stuff. As far as I know, since the town doesn't have anything in place to stop it, you can't tell them where to put it, other, zoning,
Well, I
the,
think it can be a
business,
commercial, yeah.
but you can't, like, we can't go stick them only
Out
in
in
this
the-
part of town. If it's a
Right.
regular business, anyway, right across the street. So that's the thing on that.
Oh, this is just another good governance by our
Well,
present
it's, I watched the meeting, the planning board, and they talked about that, and it was, like a month or so ago. And, a couple members were in favor of it, a couple members weren't, and, gonna have more discussion on it, and, then that came to light, if you don't have a thing in place by, April 1, it's thing, so, nothing got done. So,
All the other
in a way, it's
communities-
good because, it's, you don't have boards fighting, this and that. Again, I watched the planning board meeting, and, I was watching it for some other reason, but I watched it, and, that came up, and, there were a couple members who stated outright, I'd probably vote against having it allowed in town. One is, he was all for it. But again, that got brought up, like they had a time limit, the health agent was there, what was it about? The meeting, I think, originally was about green.
Oh, yeah.
Green
Oh,
communities.
Oh, yeah.
And
Well,
I
that-
watched, I
that's a
think
green
that's the
community.
reason that
Yeah,
I,
real green.
that I watched it for that reason. And that came up, and they had the law, stating the time frame you had. And there's another date in there, December 18th, 2018, November, December is another time
So
frame
we
for
blew the
something to
whole
be.
thing then?
But, if you didn't have a town meeting and you didn't have a bylaw proposed by April 1st, it's, you can't put, one- you can't put,
Right there across from
you can't put one on the books now. That was the thing, and they're supposed to be issuing permits, and I know Winchendon is actively looking at, I think they approved one. Now they're talking about whether they wanna have it on their central street, or if they wanna put it in the back. But they are actively
Of course,
engaged in it.
the income.
I'm looking at it. So I just reading the minutes and I saw that. The other thing is, and this has been brought forward a couple of times, but at this meeting, the policies and procedures for the advisory committee. And it was noted in there that they would be brought forward, but with the budget and the warrant right this particular time. And there is a thing on the minutes here, on the agenda for items for the next meeting, so when we get to that, we'll discuss that, but it is in the minutes, so if you wanna make a note to yourself when we get to that point of the agenda, we can decide if we wanna do that or not, or kick that around, but those are a couple things that I saw in the minutes, that sometimes, we do stuff and then, we're gonna bring it forward this time or that time. And we kinda forget about it, so that's in the minutes. One of these packets is yours.
It doesn't
They're
have,
the same.
and there was one in front, right?
Oh, yeah. So,
I don't, you can look on with me.
Mr. Chairman, on a positive note on this,
Mine's in the car.
it's not being on the warrant by April 1st. Gee, that's bringing in new business. There should be no
potentially,
complaints about new business coming in, and they
Every,
can end up taxing it. Did they not put it on a thing for the bylaw to tax that at 3%?
That's, I've seen it in the paper, it was discussed, I think in the talk of, the selectmen's meeting at that one time, it was, that was mentioned, but, you know, again, it's, when I was reading through the minutes, I saw that, and
That's as far as we.
it reminded me that Bob had, well, it came up.
Yeah.
Every
Be-
other community has done their due diligence to take care of their
Be
town.
proactive about
Yeah.
that.
Article 26 is the 3% marijuana tax.
Well, that's putting the cart before the
Well,
horse.
Well, no, actually, it's, the town is open, if somebody
Yeah,
comes in
That's right,
and they want to, you know, farm, just grow it to
from default.
sell it, you know, wholesale, they will collect the tax. But as far as any bylaw action, you know, doing that, we don't have anything, there's nothing in place to say, no, you ain't coming in this town. So it is open, and, so I just, like I said, I saw that and I
Should we
wanted
put
to,
that on the website? Open for business?
Well, that's pretty good. EDIC did their job
think?
without even doing their job. Got new business
Yeah.
coming in, maybe.
Oh, speaking of EDIC, does anyone know if there's a full committee?
there is only 2 members on that committee,
Okay.
And
still.
I was gonna say, and I just, as a mention on that, since that was brought up, I'd just like to mention that on the town website, under the boards and committees, openings available, there is nothing for the EDIC or the BES even listed as having openings. So that needs to change to those watching or viewing.
There is, I hope I put it on. Yeah, there is a thing on the agenda concerning that, and that came up in the, and when we get to that. But that was 2 of the committees that were mentioned, at one of the most recent selectmen's meetings. They were talking about committees. And just the last selectmen's meeting, this past Monday, there's a chart, of who's in what, like, how do they,
Oh, yeah.
they categorize,
Organization
you know,
chart.
the selectmen to this, the finance team to this. And Eric, he's doing all this grunt work.
$140,000 worth.
But, I did like an inventory of all the committees, and they're not even sure if they have all of them. But, that is yours, Paul?
Okay.
Do you need to plug stuff in? Do you want me to move?
Yeah, well, I can move down.
So, all the gang is here.
Question, just one question before we go on. Somebody asked me about the Baldwinville Elementary School Reuse Committee. I didn't see anything on the website. Wouldn't that be on the town's website versus the school, because that's a town building?
Like I said, the selectmen just talked about that at that meeting, that those are the 2 committees that, I think there might be a selectman volunteered or voted on to that committee, and the economic development has 2 members, and that's it. Because when you meet at 10:30, 9:30 in the morning,
Steve's the only one that I know. I
Yeah.
don't know who the other one is.
one of the selectmen on it or something, I think, but, yeah, there are 2 people on that. So again, when you meet at 9:30 in the morning, and you don't actively put that on the website,
Yeah.
I question that whole legality of that whole thing. That people didn't vote for it in town.
so,
It's not on.
we called to order, we did the pledge,
The minutes?
we accepted the minutes.
Yep.
Budget versus actual. Oh, I will make copies of
Obstacle
the
course.
17 and 18. I sent you the 19 booklet. And
Yeah,
this is-
I got
this
the
is-
19.
So this should cover.
This is the same one, right?
It's in different, like a different format.
If there's one in the package you gave us, plus
The one we had from last week is
Yeah,
the same one,
same
right?
one.
Yeah, okay. So I thought that 323 was the same date, I'm like,
That's there, Templeton and everything. Like I say, you gotta look for it, cause it's not, it's different format, but.
okay, great,
Thanks, guys to send that. She wasn't sure she had it, but. Okay, now. Why does this one feel, did I do two? Oh, I know what I did. I did a one side and a two side. Okay. On the budget to actual, the last one that we have is March 22nd.
Mr. Chairman, as I ended up saying at the last meeting,
And I did speak with Carter, and he told me to keep an eye on the email, because we are supposed to be getting a copy of these once a month, not quarterly anymore. So,
Oh, wow.
and I told him, I said, well, I'll look. I said, I think we have them, but I couldn't speak. He said, well, just let me know if you're not, so. Before I interrupted you, Will.
yes, that's okay. I understand. As I said at the last meeting, this budget to actual should be a good indication as to where we are in the budgets. We should be looking at about 75% as to what percentage of any budgets are being used. That might be helpful in our process as far as what we recommend for the budget, for the FY19 budget.
Yep.
As it was pointed out, there's quite a few that are under that 75%. So do we really need some of that money, per se?
Well, if we're gonna, are we opening up discussion on the budget to actual now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the next thing on the agenda.
All right, we're gonna have to discuss, the password. Vadar, unless it's been changed and I missed that meeting.
I don't think it has.
Okay,
I haven't,
all right.
I don't think Paul has.
What's that?
The
Change the
password?
I haven't touched the password. I haven't been in it in quite
So
a few
it's,
weeks, though.
I haven't either, so,
so,
So it was the same password unless
but I
somebody's
think
been
it's,
forced to
we're
change it.
past the
I think we're
time.
gonna, the next time we log in, anyone logs in, we're gonna be forced to
require
change it,
Change
Okay.
one.
so we should try to figure that one out somehow. And my other statement I'm gonna make about the budget to actual from March 22nd is, we had a budget meeting that I did attend, and the account was there. And we still have, I brought up the question about how much we had in ambulance receipts reserved on page 5, and it still reflects 0.
We have-
Somewhere here, I got
Wow.
it was given out at the next, what was that? I have it written in the book.
So has it been changed? That's my question, because this is,
They were given, it was given an update.
It was on the back of the budget, the actual was on the back page. This is 219,000, I think. For
okay.
the ambulance reserve, receipts reserved.
So if we went in and looked at it today, that's what it would reflect? It wouldn't be 0, that's my question.
Yeah, no, and it's actually, I think it's changed from that to the meeting I went to. I just saw it. Over the fire department. I wanna say it was 3 something. It's below what they need. I do know that. I saw it when I was changing my books. But I wrote the number down when I was at the last meeting, the public hearing, I think I went to.
And this one here is the C-back page.
Yeah, but, like I said, the next meeting I went
Yeah.
to.
Well, we're gonna start meeting more often, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it should reflect the new figures, once we get in and look at it.
What is the balance in there? 217, yeah, that was given. Yeah, and they're estimating by the end of the year, by June 30th, it'll be like 319. But yeah, and I have a notation that we were there, it was not totaled yet, so.
On the actual budget document, where it says revenues, the requested amount was $300,000 from the ambulance receipts reserve. And the administrator has $250,000. But there's no actual figures that I saw.
And I think that is a thing, because the 300,000 won't be in there at town meeting.
That's it too, because
So,
you can
you
only
know, they-
appropriate what is
the-
actually
You know,
there.
the department puts in there what they request, and then the administrator changes it. What they think.
If they anticipated $300,000 for revenue on the ambulance reserve receipt, as shown on their document for revenues, then why is there an override for $350,000? Wouldn't that ambulance reserve receipt be transferred over to the fire EMS budget?
It is, but it's not gonna be enough to cover the cost of those four people.
Well, they're asking for, what, $350,000 for an override, and they're,
No, it's actually, I think they increased it. The override is 75 cents per thousand.
170.
And part of that is to cover, like all the lump sum disallowed.
That's something.
That's from March.
right, but
not
that's with the school.
Right.
That's the school and the fire EMS is 75 cents.
Yep.
So
Right.
that's,
It covers some, it's like broken down in three things.
so the 15 cents above and beyond what they had done before is for the school. And the original number that they had for the fire EMS was $350,000.
Yeah, I think it was actually 376, but yeah.
It was.
And you're looking on what page?
reserve, the receipts, on the receipts page, for one, to start out with.
The revenue?
Yep. Revenues.
I don't think they have adjusted it.
I can't look at
It's line I. Line 50, I 58, ambulance reserve receipt.
Where? Try to find where they have it. Supplemental one. Look,
It's supplement, ALS.
21, right there. I was looking for I was trying to find that page in the,
Yeah.
what you call it.
It's, the revenues is right at the front of the book.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at the final version that was presented to us, that you had sent us today. On the revenues, it's line I 58. Anticipated 300,000, approved by the TA 250. And I just looked under the electronic budget that we received on the fire EMS, and I see nothing, this one here. I 58, excuse me.
See, they are two. 17,500. There. That's why we're looking at the front page,
This doesn't even match.
Public safety. Where was the revenue? Revenue projections.
To me, that's very confusing, is that they can say you're going to have revenues of 300,000, but you want an override of 350. So which is it? We don't have enough money? We have enough money.
I don't think so. Where is it? As far as I understand it, the requested amount would be what the fire department estimate that they, and that's what it is, it's an estimate of what they're gonna take in. And you're not gonna know how much you have taken in for the year until after June 30th. And the administrator is saying allow 250,000. In other words, only vote or only place that amount in the budget or in the spending plan.
So the confusing part to me is if you anticipate that amount, you look for less, and you know you need $350,000 to operate the fire EMS, but you're going to end up getting his approved is 250, then why are we asking for an override of 350 to 395,000? I'm missing something here.
Receipts. Where is the override information?
Is that in the new packet now?
I mean, this is not my numbers, this is theirs.
Yeah. I have that sheet. Oh, I know, it's in the, down here.
So Will, is your question, does the budget that's being presented for FY19 for the fire EMS include
Money
the
over.
two new
No.
people? No.
No,
Because if you look at.
that's why we're looking for an override.
Right, the fire chief requested 745, and what the TA is recommending is 413, and the difference is the 300
Is the override?
is the override.
Okay.
Where is it?
So the fire chief submitted the budget that he needed to run his department.
That's my understanding.
Okay.
Yeah.
But nowhere in that money to run his department includes the ambulance receipts reserve.
That's my understanding.
Right.
Yep. So if you look at the FY18 budget for fire, it shows 566, 501,
Mm-hmm.
and the 745, 989 is the additional
Right.
two folks. Right, and what the TA is recommending is roughly 100 and, what is that, 50,000 below,
Less
28, less
Than this year.
than this year.
Okay.
But at least
That's what the numbers say.
that's what the numbers say.
All right.
If,
Article 24, basically, supplement FY 2009 operating budget. They're seeking an override for fire EMS. And I thought this was just strictly for fire EMS and they included the school. Now, what they have here is $290,740 for fire EMS, $23,000 for police, $133,890 for insurance and benefits, $15,000 for highway, and $7,616 for snow and ice. Am I missing something here? I mean, that just,
well, the override for the school was originally, they were gonna look for, or have to cut a combination thereof. And this came up at the meetings they were having. Because the school was originally looking for a 2.8% increase.
right, I understand that much.
Well, it went down to 1.47.
Right, I understand that much.
So they went back, as I understand it, and that's what all them pages that you have there to put in here, they added some things back, cut some things to try to come up with the money for the school. And the additional money now, instead of just covering the school, is to put back some of these things, like they added, I know right off the top of my head, originally they were looking for 100,000 for insurance. And I don't know what the increase is unless,
Page 16.
they just voted on 2 collective bargaining agreements too on Monday, and I have not looked at them. They voted on them and to accept them, to sign them.
Well, if I
So-
look at this Article 24, it says that they're seeking an override of $470,246.
I'm looking at that, yeah, I
Yeah.
understand that.
So they must have, did I, so am I to assume that they cut a number of budgets because of the school and gave the school the full amount and cut other budgets and put it into the override instead of combining the fire EMS with the school? So this is strictly a town override.
I believe that's what they did, because otherwise it would have been larger. The override would have had to been larger.
So they actually cut other budgets in order to take and end up making room for the amount of
Well,
money for the school.
I tell you what, we have a thing on here, number 10 on the agenda. The town administrator said he was willing to come in next Wednesday to answer questions on the warrant or the budget. So you can, jot this down, and when he comes in, if the committee wants to have him in, that would be a question for him.
Does that mean if he comes in on the 18th, he's not gonna come for pre-town? That's, to me, that's where the rubber hits the road, so to speak. I would expect the selectmen to be here also, so that the questions can be answered, or some, the department heads on their budgets, if there's questions from us.
The opportunity to ask questions of the department heads has already come and gone. That's why we have these joint meetings with them there, so they don't have to come to an additional meeting. That's, you can ask department heads to come, but they'll I'm telling you right now, I expect the answer. We already had joint meetings with the advisory committee there, and Bob and I were at all the meetings, and that was the time if you had questions. And the TA will come, I know he's coming Wednesday, he said he is willing to come on the 18th.
Mr. Chairman, if I might, just something that I just happened to catch while I was just flipping to this
Yes.
page here. I noticed that when Will mentioned Article 24, the last item on Article 24 is snow and ice for $7,616. I'm also noticing over on Article 1, under the operating budget amendment, we have a snow and ice for $65,000 as a separate item.
Yeah, 'cause it's, how much was it in the whole? I don't know, was it-
I think
it was like
according to the
100,000?
budget to actual, it was 65 as of March 22nd, but it snowed in between.
They've gone out a
Yeah.
couple more times.
I think they're outstanding this morning.
Article 1 is
For fiscal
basically
18
18
for last
deficit.
year's.
Mm.
Article 24 looks like they're raising, or they cut the,
They want to increase the snow and ice. Instead of having 130, what was it, 134,000, whatever it is?
32.5.
Yeah, thank you, Julie. They're trying to slowly increase it to get,
That one I remembered.
so
Understood.
to cut down on deficit spending, even though, you can have a winter from hell. I mean, I call it a nice winter, but,
Yeah,
No, I
but
just
no,
thought
that's
override, and I
the
was
thing,
like,
to
oh,
try to
backfill.
put more money in there, to have available, but at the same time, you have to keep the reins real tight.
Without dropping.
So but try to put more money in there so you deficit spend, so you have to come up with less money from wherever at the end of the year. It's an animal that you don't, you can never, this past Friday, we just missed a nor'easter. I don't know if people pay attention to that, but
Mm-hmm.
we missed having a major nor'easter of a foot plus. If it would've moved about 50 miles to the left, we were gonna get hammered. So that would be, and there's still a couple of storms coming across.
Yeah.
They say it's gonna be north, but you know how them weather people are. I mean,
Well, you know how
It's
that global
accurate as
warming
all-
is.
all
it's
day
happened
long.
later we've had snow later in April than what we just got, so. But yeah, so Article 1 is to take care of last year's thing.
Yeah, that was just jumping the gun here in my head.
And that's listed at the front of the book, they're gonna, free cash, cause according to this document, they have let 160,000 or 64, it's in the front of the book, gonna float into, just let it skate into next year to be recertified.
If it's recertified. Well, no, I'm not kidding,
I know.
'cause,
Well, nothing is definite, but if the
Right.
audit is fine and they,
right, but we're still waiting for FY 17's audit. And that's what that free cash is gonna be dependent upon. So it might be better to put it somewhere like stabilization where you can get at it than depend on it being recertified.
that's,
But
to
then
me,
they'd
that's where
have
you,
to ask permission to use it.
well, you have to,
You have to ask permission to use it
Yep.
anyway.
it's a
Right.
three-step, well, it increases the steps to use it, cause you have to
Right.
have vote to put it in there, the
Yeah.
vote to take it out. And, you have a warrant article that we wanna pay this bill, so we wanna take it out of here. And it cuts down on if you just let it float through. I mean, I'm just thinking,
Right,
you
but
know,
if you let
that's-
it float through, can you access it? Has it been appropriated? No.
You can't, if you
You
don't
have to
touch
have
it before
time.
June 30th,
Right.
it has to be reappropriated.
Recertified.
Recertified.
Right.
If you don't use it by June 30th,
Right,
I think you're right.
so,
so,
that's the way free cash rides.
right, so.
But
it-
if your books are in order the way they've been saying and everything, then it should be no problem.
Right, but here we are in April, waiting for the management letter for FY 17 that we were assured was gonna happen in January, and then it was gonna be February. Here we are in April.
Oh,
And
I
this
have
this
no
is,
doubt that the books are not as good as has been advertised.
right,
The same with the financial team with regards to the treasurer, where everything was hunky-dory, and then
right,
we sat at a meeting about this time last year and said, oh, by the way,
right.
you just told us.
That was only 5 years too late.
And next year, be planning on looking at another override or budget cut somewhere for school costs. It's gonna happen, when that new school opens, there's gonna be a chunk of money somewhere, and I think he has mentioned it at a selectmen's meeting in open, but, in speaking with him, and it's just been discussed. The superintendent, they don't know, and nobody knows exactly how big the number will be, but it's not gonna be 20 grand. And it's coming, so expect it, people, expect it. If it doesn't happen, you'll be really surprised, but when that new school opens, and next year is when you're gonna be looking at the budget to support that new school, because it's supposed to open in the fall of calendar 2019.
Right.
Here's something I'm confused about also. Under fire and EMS,
So, let me make a jot.
I
Okay,
see,
Article 24.
I see under fire EMS, the administrator has changed a few things. And he's got EMS on-call and fire on-call salaries. I thought I think it was 14, that either 13 or 14, the town passed a warrant article that says we would end up having 2 fire EMS full-time.
Full-time equivalents.
Equivalents.
They were part-time people to try to cover, it was a Band-Aid
Yep.
to get the ambulance license for ALS done, and they did.
Yep.
But they're not full-time positions benefited.
So he's
The
only
fire
got,
chief was, not to interrupt, but just, the fire chief was at a selectmen's meeting, last year, the year before, I forget exact. But, they were discussing using the ambulance receipts to transfer some money. Was there be enough money in there to pay the salaries and benefits of a full-time employee? And he said they could cover the salaries, but he didn't believe it would generate enough money to pay for the benefit side of the package and still have money left to cover equipment and things like that. Because that's what that was intended. It's not what the motion says, but that was the intent of that, having that fund. So when you need a new ambulance, because they've always gone for a debt exclusion, and it was always turned down.
Yep.
So to at least have money set aside, where all you had to do was vote to take it out and appropriate it or spend it on this item or that item, the ambulance receipts made sense. But now it has morphed and they transfer it over
Well,
because we don't have full-time EMS people and full-time fire departments separate. It's blended together. So you are in effect paying full-time fire department people and full-time ambulance people out of the ambulance receipts. And the insurance companies have caught on. You wanna charge $2,000, well, we don't have to pay $2,000. So just, you can set your rate whatever you want. And as people get older or more people are on, and it's just gonna keep going round and round. Medicare and Medicaid, sorry, we pay $400 for an ambulance, no more. Don't bother arguing, because that's all we're paying. So you
I
end
thought
up
that was
eating it.
I'm sorry. I thought that was the whole issue, that when we went to the ALS, not enough funds were ever appropriated to properly staff it, or to get it to the point where, it needed to be. The original override amount was just for EMS, was $376,820. And they were proposing an override of 60 cents per thousand to cover it. That was when they expected, or they first passed of the school budget, they expected 2.5% increase
Right.
in the Templeton allocation. In fact, they came in at, what was it,
7?
8%.
Oh, I was close.
They came in at 484,000. So that's when they went back, and the whole negotiation with the school committee was, we were gonna have to slash all services, we were gonna have to close the library,
Yeah, but-
close the senior center.
There was gonna,
Okay.
be a lot of cuts.
So in the negotiations that they had with the school did come back with a reduced budget. And by the way, it's not 1.84%. It's, to us, it's 5.4%.
Right, but the 1.8 or 1.47
Their
is,
overall.
is their overall
Yeah.
budget,
And
including state aid and all that.
include in their base all of the debt, service
Right.
cost, which
They're-
is just passed through anyway, so it's
They're
just a way
complete- they're
of padding
complete
their
costs.
base, So anyway, we're still going to be seeing an increase of 5.4%. So that must be the reason why they've now adjusted the override, because it's greater than the 2.5% that we had originally budgeted.
Plus Monty Tech was a little bit more than
Yeah.
what they accounted for.
Anticipated, yeah. Well, last year it went down.
But the cost for I understood, even if all the school budget came in at that 2.5%, we still had to go in and properly fund EMS, that the receipts were simply not there, not enough to cover it.
It's not there, it was never gonna be enough.
Okay. And like you said, that's the Medicaid, Medicare, they contract what they're gonna pay for the service, regardless of what the real cost is.
Right.
So, so the only way is to properly fund it, and that was
Either
what,
that or do a private, go to a company
It's,
and go through them?
I don't know enough about it to, to say that that's an alternative, but,
Because where's the revenue gonna come every year to fund that department? It can't pay for itself. So every year,
Well-
the cost to the taxpayer is gonna get bigger and bigger.
Well, for the ambulance service, I think they were saying it would, this override, the original proposal was gonna make that solvent for a number of years. But you're right, at some point, if
You need
our
another
receipts
override.
continue to lag behind, what the cost is of providing the service.
It's like a
then-
monster that you're never gonna
Yeah.
fill.
It
But-
was, I think it would be like, you'd be all set for about 3 years.
Yeah,
Because the regional retirement system and the health insurance, which has gotten back into the close to 7% increase cycle.
Okay.
The last time we had a real low was 2012, when the town said we were gonna go out for bid and look for other insurance and stuff. It only went up 2%.
mhm.
When the town didn't follow through on that,
Yeah.
the next year, I think it went up 9%,
Yep.
10, it boom, and then, excuse me, but it's been an average of about 7% each, and I mean, you gotta expect that. It's just gonna keep going, and the insurance companies are getting tighter and tighter now. They're looking like working towards Medicaid and Medicare. There's a thing, I think there's, I don't know, 5 hospitals, 6 hospitals that are trying to merge. So, I mean, it's, the selling point is, there'll be the system that you're in, if you're in Blue Cross, that you're in your care thing, is getting bigger, but so is the
Increase.
home group that controls all the medical costs is getting smaller. You have a couple, 3 big hospitals, conglomerates, or however you wanna word it,
Mhm.
and they're gonna set their rates, and then the insurance companies are gonna be right behind them. It's all, everybody invests in it, everybody's gotta make profit, you don't pay a dividend, nobody invests, and then so it's, so we got, those costs are just gonna keep, but I believe they said if, this override got in there and the money was funded, that they would be all set for 3 years solid on the outside,
Oh,
5
yeah.
I
years,
just don't
but,
like this,
it's
at
like
all.
everything else, it's just,
you know?
the 2.5% keeps towns
Just sounds like slush.
down, everything else goes
Bait and
up,
switch.
and there is no alternative.
Well, I'm looking at this amount for fire EMS, and they're scheduled, I believe it's on the capital plan, to purchase an ambulance. And, because those have to be maintained and kept up if you're going to provide ambulance service
Not only that,
at ALS level.
they're not $50,000.
No, they're about 135.
And more than that, I think for
Are
the,
they?
The
there's
ALS one
the
is
one-
over 200, I think.
yeah, I think it's like 250 for the one that
This is a
we
business we
need for the
can't mess
ALS.
with.
I think
Right.
the other ones, there's
They-
different levels.
Yeah, the ALS with all the new equipment up to date
Yep.
is almost the cost of a fire truck.
Yeah.
Which is,
So
In
is
the-
that what they were targeting the ambulance receipts towards?
That was
To
the
be kind of the
original-
capital budget for the equipment costs? Because there's no equipment costs in any of this
Right,
override.
no.
it's almost to the point where
Oh.
it's almost, again, not worth having the ambulance receipts fund. If you're gonna merge
sorry.
it, it's almost not worth having that ambulance receipts reserved. Again, if you're just gonna merge it into the general fund to provide full-time people and stuff. Unless it's gonna be solely for equipment, it's almost no reason to have it.
I got an interesting question here. In looking what the administrator had put on the fire, this is under the fire EMS account, 220-71. And I'm looking in, you're right, it's, or equivalent. We passed a warrant article for 128,000. If I add up what he has here, that's 60 and 60, that's 120. There seems to be 8,000 missing. And then I ended up looking at that and saying, okay, if he's approving, and this is the bottom line under that account, and it's contingent upon getting some additional paramedics later on, he's got a budget of $277,500. If you add the fire EMS that he's going for the override, that's $290. That's $516,000, which is actually more than the fire chief asked. The fire chief on this budget, as requested, is $496. I mean, you can check the math, but that's, looking at that, that's what I see.
So, 24. So we have a question on Article
What I'm talking about,
24.
Bob. See this and this? This is the,
Right, right.
this is the, and if you add the 290,000 that's under his,
Right, come up with 567,000.
yeah,
And remember now, you
200.
see, the people, you see EMS, they're not separate anymore, other than, you
oh,
know, an ambulance.
I'm not questioning
know?
that, I'm questioning the budget numbers,
They are,
not the people.
they are
The budget
trying to,
numbers.
they are trying to build that up, is what I assume.
When I see that the actual amount that the fire chief asks is 496, and I look at what the administrator has got here for the final cut that he just sent to us, and we received today, he's got 277,500, and he's got a warrant article here for Article 24, which states fire EMS is another 290,000.
Well,
To me, that's
I didn't think-
$567,000.
yes, but the budget detail that the fire chief put in does not include the insurance and benefits for the full-time employees that are in there. So the override was to cover that as well,
Yeah, it has to,
yeah.
because you're adding, don't forget, last year it was 2, this year you gotta cover 4.
Right.
And next year, they gotta cycle in 2 more. And I expect a total of 8 when they're all said and done. I don't know if you can count on 6, because if somebody is sick or,
Well, people go on vacation, you
Yeah.
have sick, it's just.
and a lot of this is state-driven, a part-time, for that level of service,
Right.
they won't allow you to,
You
my
can only work
understanding
so many
in the
hours.
license talks and stuff, that the state won't let it work. Because if it could work on volunteers and part-time, it would stay that way, but it's not.
Right.
So eventually, the townspeople may not realize it, but they're gonna have a full-time fire department, as well as full-time ambulance service. It's gonna be a full-time service.
Right.
It's heading that way. It is heading that way unless people get to town meeting, and we all seen how this has gone so far. I mean, they don't even wanna discuss a line item budget. It's like, they're almost like the selectmen. They wanna see how fast they can get out of there.
And then when they get the tax bill, they
Well-
don't understand, you can't have your cake and eat it too, you have to pay attention.
So,
All right, are we still on budget to actual?
yes, we have getting, I'm jotting down questions for when we
Okay.
get down below, but yes, we still are looking at the budget to actual.
Because there are a few other items, Bev pointed out one, I think it was on page 4. Short-term interest.
Yeah, we brought that up the last
It's,
meeting.
Yeah, it's,
You know, and this is a month old, so.
I think we said that that's a question that needed to be answered. I don't know if the chairman got a chance to inquiry for
have not
the
heard-
administrator or accountant.
have not heard back, but,
Write it down.
Some
well,
of the,
I,
yeah,
this time of year,
yeah.
I just expect, like you said, I know But I did, what's that thing called when they check the audit? You know, that has been talked about, so I know there's stuff going on with that. It's supposed to be out of the building, but I never know.
All right. Other questions I had on the budget to actual, which when we get an updated one, we can look at. On page 10,
Oh, let me,
Page 10?
yep. I don't, looks like maybe it's just they have to rebook some numbers or something, but the Highway Improvement Fund, Chapter 90, is a negative 67,448.77 cents.
and that is one of those
All right.
things where I bet they're waiting on reimbursement.
Citizen Core Program Grant, 2016. Emergency Management Grant, that's overdrawn.
Yeah, I don't know how you can go in the past and overdraw an account.
Magic.
If you look at, and I'm look at the warrant,
Drawn by 67.
if you look at the warrant,
Yep,
think it like-
67,448.77.
you spend in anticipation, you get the cherry sheet amount. It's one of those things that it's just, it's really screwy.
It's just the way the money flows in.
Yeah, it just,
Bond, with the bond too.
I don't know if they do a separate article anymore or not.
Oh, yeah.
But that is like, chapter 90 is like a grant, and you have to spend the money and fill out the forms and turn in the receipts and all of that stuff, according to the state thing, and they send it in, and they,
Right, but usually they tell you how much you have in there. The only expense they've really done out of Chapter 90.
This has been happening with that fund for about 3 years now. I think it's been squirrely, because they used to put the amount in off the cherry sheet.
Right.
That was the amount that you've been allocated, so you can spend that amount, you know, short-term borrow, however you do it, and you send that into the state, and they reimburse you. It'll show up on the recap thing in revenue, but, and there used to be, I haven't even flipped through the warrant yet, to be truthful.
Yeah, there was an article in the warrant
There's
to
usually an
accept
article to
so much
accept-
money and.
To allow the treasurer to spend an anticipated revenue of,
Excuse me.
in a highway, again, chapter 90 funds.
I don't know.
So this is capital.
Out of our weekly,
Jot that down.
way out of it.
Just looking through. Yeah, budget to actual. And then the other question I had, actually, Mr. May brought this up, under special articles that were voted at town meeting. I mean, these articles were on there because they were identified as a need, a lot of capital items. On page 4
Yep.
into page 5. And most of the money is still sitting in those. You know, it hasn't been expended. So the things that we were told we needed to do at town meeting, and the citizens voted for at town meeting,
Have not been
have
done.
not been done.
The one thing that I did ask, I think it was the last joint budget meeting. I asked about the dump body, that money sitting there. This isn't how it was presented or voted. that was a dump body for a truck. The explanation was that the new truck that they ordered, they were gonna use that to pay for that dump body, because I'm not sure how they are ordering it. I think, a lot of municipalities do it, I call up, international dealer and say, hey, I want this truck, this motor, blah, blah, blah. It's a cabin, what they call a cabin chassis. It's like a pickup truck with no pickup bed on the back of it. Then it gets sent to someplace that does municipal setup work, like J.C. Madigan's, for instance. They'll put the dump body on it, they'll put the pump, the plow frame, the wing plow, all of that stuff on there. It's a cost, and it's not cheap. And so a truck that, the cabin chassis might cost you 50 grand, 80 grand. The truck ends up costing 160 grand because it goes to this second place to get all the accessories to put on it, and then goes to the town. So I asked why that money was still sitting there, and they said that that was gonna be used on that new truck that they've ordered. That was utilizing part of that for that body.
But there
The
are-
other things I didn't, ask about, I know like the scholarship stuff, it's, and that small amount of money, but those are things like, I think the kids gotta go, who was there? Were you there, Will or Bob, when we had talked about that? When Brooks, or maybe I watched the movie, I can't remember, but, I think the kids have to complete like a semester.
Yep.
And show that they've gone, and then, so that, like I said, that's a small amount of money. But they have to they gotta go to school for a semester and show that they got the grade, they're actually in school, and then they get the scholarship money, so I know that's why that stuff, and it's behind.
But
How
this,
come they haven't spent the roof, money for the roof on the fire station? Oh, they didn't spend it, all right. All right, then it's still sitting at
No, they didn't.
35,000.
It's
They didn't.
35 grand.
well, there's Gilman Waite at
From-
18.8 from 2013.
Right.
There's 25,000 for the 2017 triennial reevaluation. There's another 20 grand sitting in there for the 2018 reval. Then there's the 17.5 for the mini split AC town hall. I have no idea what that means.
They're putting in a air conditioning unit in the town accountant's office. That's what that is.
17.5 for that?
Goddamn,
Oh, my goodness. And
that's an
then,
expensive,
yeah, then you get the 35,000 for the Templeton Center Fire EMS roof, and then 98,000 still sitting out there for the senior center siding.
It continues on to the next page.
Right, and then a boiler replacement, and then the 6-wheel dump truck is 160,000. So,
thought the roof was leaking and they had to have it fixed.
yeah, so I guess I'm seeing this money sitting here, and I'm just trying to figure out, is it gonna get used? Is it being, what are
I
we?
thought the roof needed to get fixed. I don't
Yeah.
understand how you didn't fix it if you got the money.
So,
Like, just to clear something up, like Jeff had stated before, the 2018 six-wheel dump truck on here, the $160,000 for that, if my memory serves me correctly, the total truck was $177,500. And it was, just like Jeff had stated, we bought a cabin chassis, then we went to J.C. Madigan and bought all the other pieces and so forth. And the 17.5 for the dump body on the front was added to that 160 for that total cost of the 177.5.
right.
So just to clarify what was stated.
Just so I'm capturing the minutes here correctly, the question is, in general,
General.
all of the special articles, why are we largely unspent against what has been allocated against the special
Yes.
articles?
Okay, it explained, two of them have been explained, which is well, plus the scholarships have been explained.
And this should be a still, the question, because if I'm not mistaken, we asked this exact same question 7 months into the year. And we're given kind of it's in progress,
Yeah.
answer. So, now we're how many months in and it's still there.
Yeah.
Okay. But these weren't overrides. These were special articles that were
Well,
just
they were using
Separate
free
warrant
cash,
articles,
basically,
yeah.
using the free cash against them.
right.
Well, how could they have used free cash against 2015 and 14 and 13 when we?
Those are old. Those
Right.
were voted at those were voted in 2014, 15,
Yeah,
and
they were
16.
separate, they're separate town articles for funding stuff.
Right, but there was no free cash in those years, is what I'm saying.
Right, so they took it out of something else. The operating budget. And I think the triennial revaluation, that money, I believe, they take a chunk out every year and vote it.
Oh, okay, that makes
And
sense.
keep it there so, until they have enough to
Yeah,
actually pay for the
Otherwise,
thing.
she'd be in trouble if she didn't do that.
Okay, so it's basically, she's putting it aside
Yeah.
for when she needs it.
Right.
Okay, that makes perfect sense.
I don't get the roof, because I thought the roof was leaking and they were having all kinds of trouble, and they needed to get it fixed, so we'll find out. If you got it fixed, and how'd you pay for it?
I don't think it's been fixed.
Well, they should have fixed it, they had the money, it's like, bad enough everything's falling apart.
And Julie, back on page 4 on the short-term interest, the question was there, how can we be, how is it we've overspent there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wonder if that was a variable rate.
Oh, boy, if it is.
Right.
I don't know if that's even
Just throwing that
possible.
out there, right?
I don't even know if that's possible, but that's,
Let's hope not. You sink like a rock on the 4th of July.
Did I do it? Okay.
Oh. The assessor still has money in her fire cabinet fund.
Is that page 4?
Yeah, 5.
page 5.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
page 5, down here.
Oh, okay.
I think they
That was CPC money.
appropriated more than
Yeah,
they may needed to spend, but
well, they got a chunk of money there.
Yeah.
And is the tomb restoration waiting for, or I think those were matching funds, if I remember correctly? Or something along those lines for the tomb restoration.
Watching this meeting is gonna be like watching paint dry.
so,
Oh, well, that's what it is.
Yeah, I mean, another thing is, we have a lot of outstanding things under community preservation, but that's town money under CPC.
yeah. that's that like fee that you pay on your
Mhm.
property tax, and it gets put aside, and it doesn't get used until they get projects. And it's not like you ask for the money and they say, here you go. It's a process.
Okay.
On page 1,
Which is a good thing.
employee support on the town accountant, 97%.
What on earth is employee support?
That's-
And
That's,
again, I think that was,
Training.
like I said, I think that was for
Training.
training stuff.
It is.
And the training has, I explained that last week. I believe that's well, and I understood her at one of the budget meetings. She had a class scheduled, and she asked if she could give her presentation that night, and I think it was, what was it, close to 10 o'clock or something, because one of the selectmen said, well, it's the hour, and they
Mm.
bloated it off, so, and I looked up in I don't have 18 book in front of me, but I looked at 19's book, and, for employee support, that's what that is. So if, she's gone to all the training classes that have been paid for.
Yeah.
Whatever little bit is left there is left.
Yeah.
I mean, that's,
Yeah, it'll just get scooped up and,
well, being that big chunk of money we'll have left over next year.
if it's certified.
Hey,
They don't find the hole
If it's
that needs to
certified.
get plugged.
the glass has to be half full, not half
Yeah.
empty.
I,
It's
just,
half full.
just saying,
So,
we
Uh,
just came off of 5 years and no free cash, I mean, come on.
hey,
We're not
hey,
gonna
hey,
do-
they spent almost all of it in like 6 months,
I know, it's amazing,
you know?
yeah.
So, we didn't do too bad. We saved $1 million. We saved over $1 million, and they spent it in the number of years it took to save it. They spent that in a number of months.
It's only pennies.
It's like a little kid that you give them this big allowance all at once. Boom, gone.
Wonder why,
So,
can't run out of cash.
is there any,
it's amazing.
I'm jotting these things down to either email Kelly and ask if we vote to have Carter come in on Wednesday, because he said he was willing to come in at 6 o'clock and answer all the questions, so.
Do you-
And I think we have a few to ask.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to remote in next Wednesday, is that okay? You're the chair, I gotta ask you.
We'll cancel the
Going to a
meeting.
ball game?
No, no. I'll be back Thursday, so I'll be at Thursday nights, but I can't attend Wednesdays.
Bob will be in charge on Thursday.
Okay. Are we moving that
Oh,
meeting?
Thursday?
Yeah, Bob's in charge on Thursday.
When I look at the bottom line, it looks like we're in good shape. We're 8 months into the fiscal year, and we've spent just over 48% of our total
Yeah,
budget.
it's-
not bad.
Yeah,
Okay.
So is there, I have a question about the override for Article 24. The special articles, the unspent money, the short-term interest, how did we overgo that? The Chapter 90 money, it's like we started in the hole. I think I know the reasons, but, or I can almost hear the answer in my head coming, but we'll let that go.
So you're saying we deficit spended in the chapter 90?
No, they,
Yep, overdrawn by 67,448.
I think it's the way that they put in for the, like the reimbursement stuff and stuff like that. It tried, what was it? It wasn't last year, it was the year before last year. It was the same thing.
Would some of it come out of those?
And then the next, I think it was the next BVA we saw, it was back in the black, so to speak. I don't believe anything is supposed to go in the negative other than snow and ice, but. You contact DOI, the only thing they're worried about is the end of your fiscal year, if your stuff is balanced. And you, no, it's, and
I
you're
know, I
following,
know, I
you
know,
read the law,
I
and the
know.
following year, like the $100,000 deficit built into the budget. As long as, before you set your tax rate, you have your expenditures and revenues balanced out, that's what you have to do. You have to have everything in line before you file your tax recap, because if you don't, they will put it on your tax rate for you to fix it for the following year. That's why you have to have everything balanced. Whatever you plan to spend, allocate at this town meeting for the next fiscal year. And like last year, we didn't have enough money, we had to be fixed at a following town meeting. If you can't fix it by your tax recap sheet, they will fix it for you. They will add it on the recap sheet, and your tax rate will read accordingly. And to balance everything out, you have until July the 15th. That's why you can move money around
I wonder
up
where this
until
is
then.
now, the premium bond issuance cost.
If you did that in private business, you'd probably be fired, but this is the
That's
government.
under the elementary school.
So do we have any other questions
This
or
is the
concerns with the
monthly
BVA?
bond, And this is what they have. So they're only
I know
extended
Article
that
24 on the warrant,
That's how much
that's
percent
all the
they spend, so
special
it's not-
individual, separate, standalone articles of money sitting there unspent. The short-term interest in the negative. Chapter 90 money, that's negative all the way across the board. What's up with that? And that's all I have under the BVA. Unless you had, do you have a question on the filing, the fireproof,
Yeah.
the preservation
See if
cabinets
she got
for,
what
The
she needed,
CPC
yeah.
money for the.
I believe she
file
did,
cabinets.
I know there was the thing in the paper that they came in and they were doing the stuff,
Right, so I don't know if they just haven't posted it or taken the money out of
taking
it.
it out of
Yeah.
there. I know there was like a grant involved too, but,
Yeah.
and there was, some of the money was coming from CPC. It's one of those funny things.
Yep.
You do this and
Right.
you get a grant, you match it or something, you get reimbursed, and there's,
But I think the tomb restorations are done, so that might be money that should just flow back to the CPC. So I don't know if there has to be a vote
yeah, I
to do
think they
that.
did the final, what was that, 3 or 4
Yeah, they had,
processes, times they did that, 4 years in a row you did that, I think,
Mhm.
but, yeah, something like that. So if, there are any more questions on the BVA,
Sounds like it, kinda.
other than the ones that I got written down? Okay. The final voted town meeting warrant is in that packet
Yeah.
that was on the table. It's got 3 holes punched, so you can put it in your, my booklet, I put it in the booklet in front of the draft one that was there, but, and I'll take it out later, but, That is the one that the selectmen voted on Monday. I would suggest that you read it over between now and next Wednesday.
Yeah.
And if you have questions, jot them down, and, if we wanna have Carter come in on the 18th,
Yep.
that would be the time to, throw them at him.
Do you need a motion to request him coming in?
It's on the agenda down the road,
Okay.
so. So there's no issues with that. Like I said, we just got it today, so. I know we do have one question already about the warrant, so. As far as the fiscal 19 budget, the electronic copy, the last time we met, it was Will, Bob, Bev, and myself, and there was a question about being able to go in there and move stuff around. He sent out 2 emails concerning that. I forwarded them to everybody. It was this afternoon. I don't know if people got a chance to read them. Basically, he was gonna send the warrant and everything electronically, and then decided not to just do hard copies. And as far as going in and be able to move things around, if you go on there, if you go on the electronic copy, the one that I sent out,
Mhm.
if you go to this page and click on a box, it'll bring you to, like if you click on the selectmen's, it'll bring you to the selectmen's pages in the book where it'll have employee support, purchase of services, and in there. And you can affect the bottom line, change the bottom line. This is one of the pages that is locked, because he doesn't want, whatever reason, he doesn't want these numbers messed around with. We can also add a column if we want to on there to do any things that we want to do. I think there are like 3 pages in there that are locked. And this year, the electronic copy, I think, was left off for good reason, I think. 'Cause I didn't believe they did it last time, with the health insurance, with the names of,
Yeah.
the individual plans and stuff. I mean, they put it out there, so it was public information, but it was left off this year.
And clicking on the page number that you had indicated,
Got an extra one?
as I downloaded it for this, comes up and says, this is just going in for the cells that you're talking about, page number, and I click on it and I basically get this message. Cell or chart that you are trying to charge is protected and therefore read only.
I'll go home and try it again. Because he showed it to me and I went home and tried it and it went. I know if you go on the town's website, the one that's on the website, and you do it, it says password protected.
It says to modify the protected cell or chart, first remove protection using unprotected sheet command.
Well,
Review tab, change groups. You may be prompted for a password.
Where's my thing? Well, I'll shoot him an email.
Though if I go on an individual sheet, as an example, the selectmen's personnel, basically, and I take and choose a column and type in, I can end up actually typing in a number.
So we could add a cell.
So I can add something here. I didn't have full time to take and end up playing with this as I did the last one. As I told you, if you take and end up going on the expense, the surprise I got was I did a cut and paste and put it on another Excel, and it actually expanded it. On this, let's see, does it? No. You can't expand it on this version. It's the same as the last version. So if I were to take and end up doing a cut and paste and put it onto another Excel sheet, I suspect, I don't know, because I haven't done it to this particular budget, it would actually populate under the FY '18 budget some additional lines showing what the individual accounts are under each of the selectmen's. It would show the account numbers as I sent that out to everybody, just to show you an example of what I played with and what I did the last time.
So that is the deal with the electronic copy. It's not the spreadsheet that was done in the past.
And this was sent out to us? I have the original stuff that was sent out to us, the
Today it
electronic
came.
copy.
It
Yeah,
came
that,
tonight.
Came tonight?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I don't
Yeah.
have it.
yeah, there's two emails. One said, here it is, and then another one was, I put hard copies on the table. So, what did I do with my other sheet?
It's in this account. Oh, here it is, okay. Yeah, I did get it, at
Yeah.
428.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, 7 copies on the table in the room, and they were here. Oh, I got cramp in my
Oh, ow.
So,
I got a cramp in my leg. I gotta walk. Help me.
Can you get by?
Yeah. Charlie horse in the back of my leg. The chairs bother me. They're too big.
Yeah.
That's a copy.
I'm not crazy then. At least I know I have the electronic copy.
so that's the deal with the electronic copies. And I didn't open the attachment of the new one today, because I didn't look at it until, well, he sent it out last evening, and I was going to the meeting over at the school, and I spoke with him, he said he was sending that out, so,
Okay.
and he said there was hard copies on the, gonna be hard copies here, so that's what I went with. if we're all set with that. Okay, I didn't open up the new one, so I don't even, I'm not sure what it looks like.
Yeah, it doesn't look the same on this as it does on my desktop or laptop. Come on.
I do the same thing, I open something on my phone, I'm looking at it, I'm going, I'll wait till I get home.
Yeah, it's just,
But I clicked on I forget if it was the dollar figure or the page number, but I clicked on it and it took me right to whatever segment I was trying to look at,
Mhm.
whether it was selectmen, accountant, or what have you.
I have a question. You gave us a document from Narragansett Regional School District from the treasurer, Tammy Collar.
This is the copy, it came in the mail to town hall, to the advisory committee.
Right, and I'm,
It's requested, required by law. Did you
Right.
get this?
I'm not questioning that. The thing that I have here is the assessment for Templeton, $6,322,752.
$332, right?
mm-hmm,
$752.
no, I have three.
I look at the budget sheet that we just got, and under overview general fund, Narragansett Regional School, $6,332,751.
That doesn't include the debt service.
Now, the debt is $417,911, and that's exactly what's on the sheet from the treasurer. I'm looking at that.
All right, so you're looking on the FY19 budget,
FY19 budget, the one that we just got, the final version.
yeah,
On the general overview, on the general fund.
yeah, that's what, I've got that open, and it has the 6,332,751 instead of 752, so it's
Yep.
off by $1.
Round up, round down.
I guess.
Round up, round down.
Yeah,
Ooh, yeah. Burr.
I froze.
You got ice cubes for hands.
Warm heart. Got cold hands and I got a warm heart. Hey, Jeffrey,
Whatever you say.
good boy,
That's the correct
Ooh.
response.
my buddy.
I almost think you were married.
Oh, my
Hey,
God.
hey, you see?
That wouldn't work.
I do whatever Bear tells me to do.
Two men,
You know,
well, three counting the
Mine-
dog in my house there. Never happened.
okay, now, I'm a little confused here. Maybe I'm, now, is this, oh, you're looking at an electronic version?
Yeah.
Okay, because the paper version here that I'm looking at for the thing we just got says 6,332,752. The exact same thing as
The treasurer.
the
6,332.
treasurer's.
Yeah, 752. Yeah.
There were some other ones that I found the
Page
last time
5.
that were $1 difference on some of the funds.
Yeah.
So
Rounding.
I'm not sure what. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Somebody must be rounding up, somebody rounding down.
It might be just the Excel spreadsheet doing it,
Yeah.
but
That positive pop.
I think they use whole numbers, they don't use cents, so I don't know if they would be even rounding.
Yeah, we don't use cents.
That's for sure.
We haven't used any cents in about 40 years.
There was well, they're getting rid of pennies anyway.
Oh,
It
they
was
keep
something-
saying that.
Did that a long time ago in
Yeah, we're
Canada.
going metric too.
Oh, yeah, we're going metric when I was in first grade.
Yeah, I find it interesting because you said the paper copy that you got, and it said the surplus slash deficit is $65, and on the electronic copy, it's $66.
Right, so that's the difference of $1, so I don't know why I don't know why it's different. You would think they would hit the print button of this thing and this would pop out.
I'm not gonna quibble over it all.
At this point?
No, no,
You sure?
I'm sure, I'm positive.
I'll
And
give
if
'em a
anybody
buck.
gets, if
That's the
anybody
sa-
gets upset, I'll give them a
It's the same number
buck.
that the draft copy was when they did the, that they had at the, when they certified the budget at the school committee meeting. They handed out, and that was the proposal, with the, what they were considered, because they handed out two sheets. The one with the original 2.8 to them, 8 to us, and then this one.
All right. I'm looking at debt service.
And this is the last year that debt service will be on here.
That's the debt
school-
service for the middle high school.
Right, it's paid off.
Okay. Because how are they planning on rolling over the debt service for a town project from a school building project? A district building project?
Actually, I think it was one of those numbers games where you're already paying an extra 52 cents. So if it comes off and then the school comes back on,
Mhm.
you're used to paying that 52 cents. That was that net
Okay,
increase.
so, but, so next
I know the
year,
way they worded it, they
Right.
said, you know, but that's, what happens sometimes, speaking and not
Is what they think.
all right,
about.
so
what you speak
Probably.
of.
next year Templeton's debt service for the school will be zero?
That number is coming
Is
off,
gone.
is gone.
It's gone. Okay.
So they'll be able to end up taking that 417 and just adding it to their regular budget.
No,
Well,
no, no.
What do you think is gonna happen with the override the second year? Where do you think that's money gonna go?
You think that's even gonna
Where,
fly?
where do you think that's gonna go?
The overrides that have been for the school, I think the money has stayed with the school.
They
I
may
know
have cut the
technically it
budget
doesn't
this
have
year,
to.
but next year, the school is coming back for money.
Oh, no, that's already been said, there ain't no thinking about it, it's just how big the number is gonna be. It's how, selectmen said it, the school said it, the superintendent said it, it was at the budget subcommittee meeting that I was at.
Like a rock.
Because like I said earlier, at the beginning of the meeting, that when that school opens up, they'll be looking for money. It's teachers, it's this, it's, the thing that needs to happen, and the thing that people should really get mad about, is when you look at transportation. The total transportation cost is $1,176,464, and you look at what the state is giving,
Yes.
$365,000. The town of Templeton is paying $675,463 for busing, because the state will not appropriate 100% of that money, as is supposed to happen with the regional school district.
Yep.
So there are like 58 regional school districts, and that ends up pitting towns against towns, towns against the school, because if we weren't shelling out that money right there,
We'd be all set?
there's no override for the school, because that's 675,000 that would go to the school. I mean, it would go to the school, it's going to the school anyway, but it would go to the school for their general fund thing instead of busing.
I thought they were 70%. I thought the state was funding 71%.
I know, they're trying to, I know, I'm not sure about the percentage, but I know this year they're trying to get 72 million. And I think per 100%, they need like 86 million plus.
So what, I'm,
But
I'm
that's a-
not
that's a chunk
suggesting
of
this.
money.
Yeah, I'm not suggesting this in the least, but what happened if Templeton and Phillipston said, we don't want to be regionalized anymore? And just, I mean, obviously, it's impractical for a lot of different reasons, but
If we did that, we would have, then, like Gardner, City of Gardner, they have to bus grades 1 through 6. Grades 7 through 12, they don't have to bus them, get to school any way you can. Walk, thumb, take a cab, mom drops you off, whatever. But a regional school district, you have to bus everybody. It doesn't matter if there's 2 kids living 50 miles out that way, you gotta send a bus out there. And I think there's only, in this area, there's only like one bus company contractor.
Yeah.
They put out school,
Right.
and it's just not Narragansett. Ashburnham and stuff, they put out bids, and there's, because of the requirements of the school bus drivers, you know, it's like, I can't just say, I'll drive a bus, I got a bus endorsement. Oh, I gotta do a Cory track, do this and this, oh, you was a bad boy, per time, you can't drive school. So, and, you know, do you wanna work at, you know, I don't know, 12 hours a week? You know,
And your day's
So-
broken up, and.
yeah, you gotta drive here in the middle, and then if you wanna have another if you wanna have like 4 or 5 part-time jobs, but you gotta have, you know, a couple hours here in the morning, and then, oh, school's getting let out at, you know,
There's
1
early
o'clock today,
release. so-
snow's 11:30, so they gotta have, and there's, like I said, they got, like, they put out bids, and one company responds, there's one company, and here's our price, and you don't like it, well,
Mhm.
you got nobody else to pick from, so. Like I said, that's a thing that people should really be screaming at their reps for, and they should be getting called in and explain this.
Do we have a rep? Oh, yeah,
And
we do.
Since the
Do you have a picture?
the school regionalization thing came to fruition, they are supposed to pay 100%, and they have failed to do that every year. They're failing to appropriate the proper amount of money to pay for the busing. So, like I said, that's a chunk of money
Yeah.
that we paid the school, and it's not going for teachers or anything like that.
Just people, getting people to move around.
So that extra 470, I mean, they wouldn't even be looking for that, because that's money that would go to their
Mhm.
curriculum rather than the busing. And that's the thing that I think people should really be mad at and be calling and writing and raising Cain about with their state reps, especially in an election year, but,
Well, the auditor just published her report about that, so,
oh, yeah.
you know, well,
Basically told them, you know, you.
it's an unfunded mandate. That's what it is.
Add it to the list of the unfunded mandates. So, and that was one of the benefits of attending the budget subcommittee meeting, was getting that reduced. That's where that came up with, and generally the budget subcommittee, if they recommend to the school committee, they generally go with that. But if you're not there, you have no, you know, if they don't hear any input, they would've went for the total 2.8%, which was 8% to us, and it would be worse, but. So, that is the deal with that, and, you know, you only got a couple choices, you either vote for it, or you vote it down and you start that game. That
1/12
plays
budget.
out till December, is November or December?
November, it can, it depends on how quickly you can do a joint town meeting.
But I mean,
or-
when you started a 1/12 budget, I think if you don't have it approved by November or December,
No, it starts, if you don't have a budget approved by July 1st, then you start with the 1/12.
but there's a time frame you have before the state comes in and sets your budget for it. I think it's either November or December, one of the two, but.
As I mentioned at the last meeting, it's not unusual for a town to, or it has happened, let's put it this way. Towns have ended up actually, the yearly budget, they have voted it down. So if the community were to vote down this FY19 budget, it has to go back to the selectmen, and the selectmen would have to end up making cuts or issuing another budget. And I think that happened to us in 14, where we actually had to have another meeting to come back.
I know like the overrides and stuff got voted right down.
Yeah.
I wasn't there, but I looked at I've looked at the warrant, and some articles that were this or that just got passed over, and things like that. I don't see this town doing that. I just,
I don't know, it's difficult for a lot of people. They've had changes in what they can, use for tax write-off now.
Yeah.
Insurance has gotten more difficult for people.
Did the selectmen, I mean, I have an opportunity, did the selectmen ending up having any discussions whatsoever that if the override for that they just had under the warrant Article 24, if that didn't pass, what's Plan B?
You would have to go to the selectmen and ask them.
They better have a plan B.
Because now they have monies out of certain departments that have to be cut. In addition to the fire EMS, the 290,000.
So that that would have to happen. That's kind of the advantage of it, having the ballot question, because if the ballot fails, then, like I said, you have until the fall to straighten stuff out.
Well, what I'm saying, did they?
I think, I don't know, but I think they are probably gonna, maybe that is their approach. Wait and see. Because like I said, you have until the fall to close that up. It's just like in 13 where we had money for the, we had to come up with that money for the school, almost 500,000, and it was either cut the budget or, cut the town or get an override. And we voted everything in except for the school budget and moved forward with, a $500,000 deficit looming. So if the town voted, if the override fails, you still have time, and then you're gonna have to start, planning and start reworking stuff. But you have until the fall, November or December, to get all your paperwork.
If the fire department doesn't go through, if we can vote it down, someone should just figure out if we do have a fire department at all. We used to have, every single precinct had their own fire department.
That was
Whole
all,
company of men.
but it was volunteers.
That's right, it was volunteers. So now, you have to look at the possibility, people are gonna say no to this, and what is their backup plan? Like Will said, they better damn well have one.
Well, they talked about that. That did come up.
What they say, I didn't see that.
They said, that's the town administrator recommended budget for fire and ambulance. Cut out the ambulance service. We don't have that.
That would
You
be,
still have to have money in the budget to pay the first responders to go, even though we don't have an ambulance service.
Yeah. But
We
what I'm
lose our
trying to say is,
certification.
years ago, we had a good group of guys that were loyal to the fire department. I don't know if that group has dissipated.
Well,
Well, there's no,
People's-
my answer, what I'm explaining is,
Yep,
we wouldn't have an ambulance service.
We won't
We'd
have
have to
a
go
town-
for
yeah,
a
it's fine
community
ambulance service.
backup type of thing, which is,
because
know.
the town is not required to
Right.
provide an ambulance service, it's not required. And back in the old days, people worked gas stations, people worked
Yeah.
at farms, people
couple
worked.
Stewart's and
and
Siblets got
If
cleaned
you had
out.
to go, you had to go. Employers were, it was all different back then,
Yep,
yeah.
but now you got people, driving distances to make a living and stuff, and,
Yep.
it's harder to get out of, the work and stuff like that. Now people, you're going where? It's just like if you're in the National Guard, and they don't say it up front, but when people were getting taken off for a year or 2 years at a time, somebody knew you were in the Guard and you go apply for a job, you might not get that job because they're thinking, I hired this guy, he's gonna be gone, he could
Yeah.
potentially
Yep.
be gone, so they don't tell you, but they don't hire you. It's just, everything has changed like that now,
Yeah.
so we all set with the Narragansett budget?
Yep.
All right, and the next one is the Monty Tech budget, it's the same thing that came,
Yep.
in an envelope here.
Jesus Christ.
The interesting thing is, the superintendent says she's available to meet. Now, I don't think, I can't call her up on a Tuesday and say, hey, can you come tomorrow? But, May 2nd is a possibility if you wanted. It's, I mean, it is what it is. They're, I believe next year, they've agreed, they're going, at least Monty Tech, I think, is gonna get their budget out
Earlier.
sooner. So rather than it being coming out in March, I think you're gonna see it, their number out like in January,
Well, we had suggested that last year
if not
So-
sooner.
to the superintendent, that they could try to get that budget for Narragansett done earlier.
Right, but you know, like I said, I think Narragansett is, they kinda stick to, you know, the law says you got till the 30th of March, so they kinda do that. And this Monty Tech agreement actually, I guess, apparently had something in it with an earlier time frame, and they had just been following the law, the state law, and not that agreement until Leominster, Fitchburg, and Gardner said, whoa, so.
Yep.
The only thing my issue with Monty Tech is they've gotten the academic stuff, so their standards so high to get in there
That wasn't what it was meant for.
that, you know, kids that really could benefit, really wanna go in there and they goof up a grade in school or something and you got a failing mark and you
But
you
that's why they,
almost
that's why
won't
they,
get in there.
that's why
Monty
they,
Tech.
that's why they established Monty Tech in the beginning, was for the kids that weren't gonna go to college so they could get a skill. So much for that theory.
But,
Well, the way the whole process works, because James is at Monty Tech, is they have, every town has X number of slots for the initial round
Yeah.
of, and then if
yeah.
the kids don't make it within, I think when James was coming in, it was like 17 kids, I think is what it was. And if you weren't part of those 17 for all the different points, because you have to go through an interview, they look at your grades, they look at recommendations, they just look at a whole bunch of things, and they
Yep.
give you points for all those things. And the top X number get in, and then after that, then they rank, stack everybody who didn't get in, and then they start taking the X, you know.
Right, they fill in.
And they fill in.
then I work at a vocational school.
Oh, so you,
So-
yeah, you know
Yeah,
even
and
better.
We just have this whole process, and it is what you said. Each community who is part of the regional vocational school has so many slots. They do the interview process, and when there are open slots, because kids come in September and decide they don't wanna be there.
Yep.
So then they go down the list and they take those other kids. I mean, that's
Yeah.
how it's
Yeah.
done. And, you know, to say that they're not all, you know, a lot of the kids go to schools, they actually have more AP classes where I work than they have at Narragansett. It's just, you know, bizarre, but they do. But not every kid is an AP.
Yeah.
So,
But and I think they kind of like swung the other way, because back in the 70s, I had friends that went there, and they called the place Monkey Tech, this place
Right.
was, I mean, you send your problem children, that's where you send them off to trade school,
Not anymore.
and then, well, like I said, they wanted to clean it up, and instead of coming to Moore Center, they went, up, you know, it goes,
Well,
it's like anything,
we still have,
oh, I know, but,
you know.
I mean,
we
it was,
still
like I
have a
said,
good
when kids go there, and it was
mixed
just commonly
population.
called on the street, Monkey Tech. I mean, that's a heck of a nickname for a school. I don't care if it's trade school or whatever it is, that's, you know, less than,
Yeah.
so.
But they
So we
do-
all set with the,
They do a good job.
Monty Tech's budget? I mean, that's a school that's pretty good.
Yeah, how much
I'm actually
better.
thinking of going to the dinner, it's a little pricey, but it's supposed to be really good. I think it's like $1.50 a plate.
Oh, geez, oh, man,
But
we
it's
gotta
like
take up a
about-
collection.
But it's about, no, it's, I was reading the menu, it's pretty awesome, and them kids down there,
Yeah,
the meal is really
Mhm.
good.
Yep.
It's like about 7, 8 courses. I mean, I
Yeah,
I read the first couple-
He's not talking $1.50.
A buck and a half.
It's a buck and a half, all right.
$50?
It's like, no,
Yeah, you
that's
go
not
out
what
and
he's
pick up a
saying.
few cans and you got that covered.
Jeffrey.
It's a good start.
No, don't go far anymore.
But I read the first few things and I thought, damn, that's, well,
You gotta wear a
it's for the
tuxedo,
kids.
though.
And, oh, the heck I will. But, cause I was looking at the first few things and I saw, oh, filet mignon and stuff. I said, yeah, that's a little pricey for a buck and a half, but yeah, good cause. But then it's like, well, that's just, you know, like the first course, and the next course is this and this and this. I'm going, I'll start with dessert and work my way back up to the top, cause I want the dessert. But, no, like I said, those kids, they're supposed to put out it's really good food.
Well, they do.
They really do
Excellent.
great.
I buy my lunch there. It's good
They,
stuff. I had that
This dinner
2
is
weeks
like,
ago.
to promote, it's a fundraiser really for the school and some stuff and things,
Yeah.
but they put out a really
If
good.
you wanna go,
it's a really,
I'll spring for you.
it's a really good dinner.
$1.50.
She'll give you $1.50.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
I think I have that in my coat pocket.
okay, so speaking of committees, the Baldwinville School Reuse Committee, when that building gets emptied out,
That bonfire.
and it's one of those committees that I guess there's been no appointments, no people, it's empty. That'll cover the parking meter.
You gonna bring home a doggy?
So what do you, all right, we're
I
just.
need,
losing
I need 148.50. So, they're looking for somebody from the advisory committee to be on the Baldwinville School Reuse Committee. It was like I said, it was talked about at the selectmen's meeting this past Monday, with an inventory of all or majority of the committees. They're not even sure if they got all the committees listed, because there's so many, and there's so many that just, it was tossed out there that this might be like about a 9-month time frame. How often, you know, if that's a once a month or twice a month meeting or whatever, but, it's not gonna be like the district reorganization meeting, about 8 meetings and you're done. It's, like I said, it's a guesstimate or whatever. But it's not gonna be just a few meetings, it's probably gonna be a process. Cause that school's not gonna be emptied out until, well, about a year and a half or so from now, but, so it's, you know, it's what to do with that building.
Now, is this a town committee, or is this,
This is town,
okay, so this is a
cause
town
it's town,
committee.
cause it's, when the building is emptied and gets turned back, it's not be like this building.
Right.
It'll be an empty town building. What do you do with it? Do you try to rehab it for housing? Do you tear it down? Do you try to, what, you know?
Be a great building for marijuana growing.
The electric side, the electric isn't good enough, because they couldn't run the computers in the school.
You couldn't run the
So-
copier with the coffee pot.
And
No,
there's a lot of things that you couldn't run together.
Boy, we took good care of it,
Well,
didn't we?
they said this place didn't have internet service, but, I think it does, so.
This place does. I had a question that was posed to me, as I said earlier, on this reuse committee. There's supposed to be somebody from the general public, but you don't find anything as to the composition or anything on the town website. And the person was asking me, and I says, you're asking the wrong person.
So there's no
wanted to know if
composition
there's-
because, there is,
I'm gonna be busy.
I did see it somewhere. I think it's on the town website, but it's not where you would think it would be.
Naturally.
No, it's,
Well,
and it might be included in the email, but I would have to look at the email.
I think for sure, the place that I've seen it was in the documents on the time when it was talked about for the Board of Selectmen meeting. the documents
I
in
think,
there, I
yeah.
think
But
that's
it was
where
within the document,
Yeah.
it was never on the website per
Yeah.
se.
No, I don't
But
think it
I've
was.
come across it somewhere and I forget. But anyways, I know, there's an advisory committee position on there, so,
I'm just gonna throw this out there. Shouldn't this be something that goes to the Economic Development Committee?
they only have 2 members on there.
But, I mean,
Not even really.
Yeah, really.
when you think
stop to
about it,
Yeah.
right?
You can't get
Well, it's
enough.
sort of like,
Depends upon what you.
I want a
decide
group to
do.
come up with, what do you wanna use the building for? And if it's the, housing or this or that, then it would go to the Economic Development Committee to, again, this is a committee this was started by the Board of Selectmen, so.
Right.
I mean, do we even know if it's structurally sound to start
That
with?
would be one of the things to, of course it's structurally sound, it's been used for a school for I don't know how many years.
Right. Yeah, right. I remember how nice it was trying to walk out the back
Well, this
door
building
in
was
the
ready to
dark.
fall down according when the
Oh, yeah,
school
this
pulled
was a-
out of it.
This was a real nice.
And,
Well, one of our former members had a big write-up a number of years ago on that whole building as to the school not taking care of minor things like this guy has a steam boiler and they're leaking because they didn't end up taking care of the radiators in there to end up fixing an item that cost $10
Yep.
off the radiator.
So,
Well, at this point, the town's gonna get the building back, and
Yeah.
some sort of decision has to be made. You know,
it is a
it's-
town asset, I mean, it belongs
Yeah.
to the town. It's, whether you tear it down, whether you try to reuse it, sell it, whatever.
I mean, I suppose you, yeah, but that's something that the reuse committee would have to figure out what to do with it.
Well, we haven't got a very good history on taking and reallocating old buildings. We tend to sell them at the cheapest price and never end up actually seeing anything come to fruition. The only building that I know of that actually turned into something worthwhile was the old high school, which is in front of that building, it's turned into low-income housing.
Well, when I was a kid, that was an elementary school, so I don't know if that was a high school originally?
Originally, yeah.
Oh, because I know the
That was
Baldwinville school.
Templeton High School.
The Templeton High School was the Baldwinville, what is now Baldwinville Elementary,
No,
No, it was the
before
school in
that.
front of it.
before that.
Yep.
Oh, okay. Because Baldwinville Elementary was my father's high school.
Yeah,
Yeah. So, I mean, that's one of the things the reuse committee could look at is making that other building, the elementary school,
But before that committee can look at anything, it has to have membership.
it's gotta have membership, yep.
And there is a slot in there for a member from this committee.
well, I'm not doing it because we're starting to work again. Just don't have time.
Who would be the chairperson?
That will be decided once you have members. There's nobody on the committee yet.
I gotta start.
Yeah, how can you have a chairperson if you don't have a committee yet?
I thought somebody from the select board is supposed to be on that.
They are.
With everything
But
else that has gone kaboom in my life.
As in any committee, if you get enough people to have a committee, and then the committee will pick its own chair, blah, 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 set themselves up the way they wish. Like the reorganization committee that I was on, we didn't have a chairman, we didn't have nothing. We never set up, it wasn't a regular, it was mainly just brainstorming, throwing ideas out there and,
Actually, it would be
meeting in groups and stuff when you
have to rewire the whole thing.
you get the same idea thrown out there 3 or 4 times, so you put it on a list, so.
I don't think I've ever been in there.
So are there any
Oh, I mean,
volunteers?
You don't know how many meetings or when the meetings are going to,
That's good stuff that'll be decided, the committee can decide that, how often they wanna meet, what day they wanna meet, where they wanna meet, and so on. If you wanna get
none
clear,
of you gentlemen wanna be on
All
it?
right, I will volunteer to be on. All right, sure. Yeah, I'll take one for the team.
Thank you, Julie.
All right. I think you should vote on it to make it official, because I don't want anyone to question
I'll,
that I'm stepping outside of my bounds.
I will move that we appoint, that we nominate, is that the right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Julie, for the committee.
Second?
Didn't we go through this at one meeting before, and you volunteered at that meeting, and we voted on it?
Not the,
For
not
this?
this,
Not for this, no.
committee,
Not this one?
No, Paul volunteered for the joint school district meeting. I volunteered for the district reorganization meeting, and then got voted on it, but, I started out as a placeholder basically, and then was volunteered, so,
Voluntold?
but that was a, that was an interest, I was glad I was on that, and took part in that. Okay, so for the Baldwinville School Reuse Committee, we have a motion by Liz and a second by Mr. May to put Julie Farrell on that committee, because she has too much time on her hands. So, anybody else wanna fight for that position?
Please.
This is like the
Don't
clerk.
start, don't start.
This is like arguing, fighting to be a clerk of a committee. Everybody always fights
Everyone
for
just
that
looks
one.
away, look
You
away.
know, who's not here? That's the clerk. When you reorganize, be at that meeting, because if you ain't, you're gonna be the clerk. That's every committee does that. They in here?
I know.
Clerk. All right. Paul,
Yes.
Liz,
Yes.
Julie,
Yes.
Bev,
Yes.
Will,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
and I vote no.
Okay.
See? Just a little moral support, okay? See,
Thanks,
so you,
thanks.
so you can say, hey, somebody voted against me, so it's, you know, I tried to get out of it.
Don't worry, Julie. They haven't got a person to volunteer for it. They haven't even put up an advertisement for it
Well-
once, so.
I know I have to be at the first meeting, so I don't get stuck being the clerk. I know.
You may be,
What I have to do.
you may be the
If I
second
go to no other
person.
meeting, I have to go to that one.
If there's a selectman on it, they probably won't show up at all anyway, so you just make them the clerk.
There you go.
Zing!
Oh,
I'm cold.
yeah.
I know, I'm voting to put it onto the economic development. That's what I think we should do with this building.
Yeah. Sure, there's nobody on that committee either. Yeah.
All right, so we got
Oh.
that out of the way. Like I said, I was at the meeting with
So sad.
the town administrator over at the that public forum last night for the district reorganization meeting, and he said he could come on the 18th. Because I originally asked him to come on the pre-town meeting on the May 2nd, and he said that was a little late in the game. He offered to come on the 18th
Sure.
at 6 o'clock, walk over and
Yep.
can ask him questions, so
Sounds good.
if you want that to happen, I'll shoot an email and say, tell him to pencil in the advisory committee on Wednesday, the 18th.
Yep.
All right.
Time flies when you're having fun, isn't it amazing?
Is this just to go over the warrant articles, or?
Yeah, the warrant and the budget,
Yeah, sure, why don't you have them come, so you can tell somebody on the committee that they're not telling the truth.
all right, now we can have, on a serious note, 'cause we're having way too much fun tonight. I gotta go play ball with the bear. Items for, the agenda for next meeting. Does anybody have any, I mean, other than, you know, I know we have some questions. Most of those could be answered by the TA. A couple I'm gonna shoot, emails to the accountant. The one thing, and I mentioned at the beginning, and it was in the minutes, I saw it and it was a reminder, and I know it's been talked about. Do you all wanna, get tracking on the, possible policies and procedures for the advisory committee? Or for now, do you wanna stick with the warrant and, the budget versus actual and the budget stuff between now and? Because we have a meeting next Wednesday and Thursday, we have a meeting the following Wednesday and Thursday, and then we have the pre-town tentative right now for May 2nd, so. But if you wanna toss
Oh.
that in there, you know me, I'll send
I'll
out
s-
the copy and stay here till 3 in the
I
morning.
would suggest that you end up putting that off on the procedures until after the budget season. I mean, I'm the one that brought that up, and I just think that right now, we need to end up working on the warrant and
Okay,
the
so,
budget.
so the minutes, the TA, and that'll be the, budget, the warrant, maybe questions to, accountant, clarification on, chapter 90, and, short-term interest in the neg.
One of the things, Mr. Chairman, for this, is we voted to take and have a meeting on next Thursday. And that's before we knew that there was a candidates night. I understand that you'll be there, but I'm sure that there probably is some other members that would like to end up going to the candidates night, to end up hearing the candidates, and I'm just wondering if we should end up canceling that or having it at a different time.
I wouldn't miss candidates' night for the world.
You can be I'll send a letter, and then
You
I'll
want
come
me
to
to
the
read
meeting.
it for you?
I'll have Tom read it for me, let's see, unless somebody can bring up a calendar faster than me.
Okay, what are we looking at?
So much for that, right?
What do you want? Frank, that
Put
doesn't
you
work
to
real
shame.
good. Here you go.
He's gonna reschedule it so that it's on the same night as the Baldwinville Elementary School.
Oh, I'll have a conflict. When is there a meeting scheduled for that, or
There's-
we're just gonna submit a name, right? All right.
As
Alright.
far as I definitely know, you would be like the only member on that
All right.
committee right now.
That would show up.
Okay.
So let's see. Well, nobody wants to meet on a Friday,
No.
except me.
It's been 9 months that town website committee and boards thing has been a pain in my,
Yeah, because it's not necessary.
right,
What
and, I mean,
about that $40,000 kid we got? Why doesn't he work on it?
I believe it's
I mean, you
hijacked,
can
I
make
don't,
a lot of copies for $40,000, I'm sorry. Just sit there and go like, why in the hell are we paying him to make up a chart? Oh, boy.
I don't,
Actually, that's something that's needed been done, is having inventory. It's just, there's committees out there that haven't met or
Oh,
have
I'm
no
not
more,
saying
no
anything
use
about that, but just the
whatsoever.
same. It
And
seems like
it's
find something
it's not
better for
actually
them to
hurting
do.
anything, but what is there? Is there 60, 80? It's some ungodly
No,
amount
they
of
never
committees
dissolve them, they
that
just
this.
create
Well,
them.
they're not even doing anything. I mean,
No.
they're still in existence, but they just keep meeting, and it was like the Common Improvement Committee meeting. They tried to get money. There was
They
no
didn't-
funding.
No,
So
nobody-
they would just hold meetings and, well, let's see, if we had this, we could do this.
Yeah.
I'm serious. I was
Yeah,
on the
they had-
committee.
They had changes they wanted to make and.
I was on the committee and I went to committee meetings and they could never get any funding. So they were just meeting to talk about, well, if we had money, we could try this. I mean, it's like,
Yeah.
They actually had come up with a solution for some of the roads in that area,
Well,
and then it got disbanded.
But they had no money to get no engineer, to do no planning, I mean, they had zero funding. I think one time they got a few thousand or something but to really get something moving, to get plans and stuff done,
Yeah.
to try to go for grants and everything, it wasn't there, and they just, I mean, it was just one of those committees that, without the funding, they were really just, you're just marking time, and there's a lot of committees that are just empty, they don't even meet, and they're on the books as a
No,
committee.
they never
And
dissolved them.
there's a committees that, they're not on that committee anymore. They're not even alive anymore, or they don't even live in town anymore.
There's some committees that actually still meet, but they can't even get a quorum.
Okay, so alternate date for the 19th. Like I said, there's a Friday open, there's,
The Tuesday. The 24th, 25th, and 26th?
where is the planning board meeting in here?
Is there a meeting on the 24th for something?
There's two things, I don't know what MassDOT is coming in for. MassDOT public hearing, Route 32,
I know I
what the
can't-
heck is that doing on here? Oh, somebody goofed up. We got, how did they get? How did that end up, did Gilbertville end up in Templeton?
Right church,
Oh,
wrong
unless
pew.
they're,
Gilbertville's
Oh.
part of,
Oh,
Route
you know what it-
32, Road oh, okay, I see what it is.
Yeah.
They posted it to let everybody, they won't post a meeting about a school committee meeting on the town website, but they'll do a thing in Barry.
The school doesn't want to post on our website, they post on their own.
So, that must have been the DOT requesting everybody
Every community that's listed is part
in
of
the
that grant.
district.
Yeah.
District Two. I'm looking at Gilbertville, how the heck, I was going, oh, MassDOT, yeah, okay, I know. So, that's not an issue. What about, where is the planning board? Meeting, they meeting in here? Yeah, the conference room.
Well, that
Ross-
might be their conference room too.
yeah, I don't think they come in here.
No, the planning board
they?
meets in here, cause
Oh, do they?
yeah,
Yeah.
I watch planning board meetings.
Yeah, they're recording.
They got minutes, so I mean, so, Tuesday's not, you really couldn't plan on Tuesday. So.
What about the 30th?
Where is? Let's see, okay, the historical commission is at the public library. Where's the elementary school building? They're meeting in here. Minutes, invoices, OPM update, new business. They're meeting at 6. We could potentially meet at 7.
Oh, we could meet in the other meeting room, right?
Huh?
Could we meet in the other meeting room?
Yeah?
Yeah, we could.
You can meet on the 1st too, there is nothing on the 1st, is there?
Well, on May 1st?
Yeah.
Nothing scheduled for May 1st. Council on the Aging was that's at 4:30 PM.
Oh, the 30th is a Monday. nothing's scheduled for that day.
30th would probably be better, only because that way we're not meeting 2 nights in a row.
Right.
Yeah, we could meet on a Monday night on the 30th instead.
It doesn't have to be in this room if there's another meeting taking place. I mean, it's,
So,
So why don't we go to 30th?
So we're gonna meet next Wednesday?
we're gonna meet next Wednesday on the 18th. That'll give time to check the planning board and use the planning board room if you wanna meet in there.
April 30th,
I mean,
on May 1st.
The 30th is open and so isn't May 1st.
One or the other, I don't care, don't matter to me.
So,
Would it be better to have back-to-back meetings or a day in between, or?
I don't care.
I don't really either.
If, we do have some time.
All right,
I
so,
mean, if you, so how does the majority of the committee feel? Do you want to not meet on Thursday, the 19th, so you can go to candidates
Yeah.
night?
Yes.
yeah,
Yes,
What would you do without
I
us?
have questions
we
for the
have-
candidates.
We are your support system.
I will be back at the coffee pot, and you can ask me any question you want, because I am not taking questions. I'm taking
That'll be noted.
a bottle of water, oh, I'm telling Tommy at the beginning. I'm taking a bottle of water, I'm gonna have my stopwatch going, and I'm gonna make 5 minutes this year. If you wanna talk to me about anything, I'll be in the back of the room with the coffee pot. I try to convince them to open the bar up every year, but they won't go for it.
that would, draw more people.
Well,
Yeah, I mean, really,
I would stay
especially
later,
if you pay the tab for
I was gonna
happy
say, if it
hour.
was an open
I would
bar,
stay
yeah.
later than I usually do, and that's usually when they're sweeping up and they tell me to get lost.
If
but-
you pay the
You don't have
tab,
to
you
go
might
home,
even
but
get
you
more
have to go
votes, huh?
sometime.
Yeah.
So what was our final conclusion, the 30th or the 1st?
I don't think we came up with one, I
We
think we
didn't.
just decided not to meet on the
I'll,
19th.
I'll put my 2 cents in, May 1st. That way there, if we have some finalized stuff, so that, just before pre-town meeting, an old guy like me might forget if there's a day in between.
All right, is that election day?
No, the 7th.
May 7th is
Okay.
election day,
I get this mix, oh, it's right here on the calendar.
yeah.
Missed that one. All right,
I think I
So-
remembered to look at that when we decided to have the pre-town, and what do I got, another week before I gotta advertise, it's what, 10 days? I better get on the shtick about that. I think got another week.
It's gonna be interesting when the paper changes, Because
They're
it's-
already changing a little bit, there's color in the Gardner News now. Doesn't look good.
Cause
but
they're not
there's-
printing it in Gardner anymore.
But there's color pages.
Oh, they're not, okay, is
No.
that, I
They
wasn't sure
used
what
to
was
do,
going
they
on
used to
with the
do
sale.
color, they used to do color at the Gardner News,
Yeah.
but
Absolutely, on the Color King.
it costs money.
Yeah.
So they're not printing it there anymore?
So,
So the press room.
you
won't
wanna
put-
do May 1st tonight, or do you wanna wait till the 18th, or what?
It's up to you, I don't
Cancel
care.
the 19th, right, you saying?
cancel the 19th, 19th is up.
We're gonna go support our friend.
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we look at May 1st as an alternative date for the 19th.
I'll second.
Okay,
Okay,
Alright,
May
there we go.
1st.
we're moving this along here.
They don't take any wooden nickels.
I don't. If it ain't paper, I don't touch it.
Oh, picky. If you need a beer bad enough.
Well, I don't know. Beer's no problem, feeding the bear is. I do take gold.
Pardon me, I don't have, I have a ring, but you're not having that.
How about crypto?
I'll take no funny money.
Yeah, well, that's what it is.
Okay, so cancel April 19th and got a motion and a second for May 1st as a new meeting date?
Yep.
All right. Everyone in favor of, May first, meeting date, 2018, Monday, 6 PM? I mean, Tuesday, here, 6 PM?
Yep, sounds good.
All right.
Okay, I'll say all.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yes.
All right. Any opposed? Yes. You guys will be at candidates night. I'll be sitting here on Thursday on the 19th. No meeting tonight.
Don't take much to confuse me, don't do that.
Me and Bear will hide out up here. All right. So email Holly. All right, if there's nothing else.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion to adjourn made and seconded. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Anyone opposed?
Nay.
We call it a night. Thank you all for coming.